Because you gotta love it. It's great here.
I love the city. It's always a bit of an adjustment because in New York, no matter what, if someone's being nice to you or if they're being mean to you, they're yelling at you.
Hey there, welcome back to Velvet Screen Secrets. Grab something cozy because today's story is a wild one. If you haven't seen our last video, Rob Reiner breaks down in his last interview. Fans can't believe it. Make sure to check it out after this. It's one you don't want to miss. Now, let's dive right in.
Which Tom is a senior Scientologist. He's single-handedly saving the planet. That is the truth. I'm not trying to be funny. That is what we're told. That is what we're told. So if you say anything about him or do something like what Katie did, which was take her daughter and save her daughter's life, she's considered an enemy.
At 45, Katie Holmes is finally breaking her silence about Tom Cruise and his deep ties to Scientology. And people can't stop talking about the timing of it all. For years, rumors swirled, whispers filled Hollywood corners, and fans tried to piece together what really went down. But now, Katie's finally cracking open the vault on a chapter she kept locked tight for over a decade. Hollywood romances are known for being a little wild, but Tom and Katie, they took it to another level. From that headline-making first date to going public, getting engaged, expecting a baby, and walking down the aisle, all in just 18 months. Their love story burned bright, fast, and loud. Cameras flashed, tabloids exploded, and the world couldn't look away. But like a lot of fast-burn love stories, it didn't last long. For years after their split, the truth was buried behind polite statements and total silence. Now, 12 years later, Katie's finally ready to talk, and what she's revealing about Tom, Scientology, and the hidden side of their marriage has everyone stunned. So what really went down? Let's break it all apart and see what Katie's finally exposing about the Hollywood romance that once shocked the world. The relationship between Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise still goes down as one of Hollywood's most head-scratching pairings ever. The age gap, the power difference, and their totally different career levels had people side-eyeing the match from the very beginning. By the time Katie came into the picture, Tom Cruise was already a worldwide phenomenon. A man whose name basically defined blockbuster success. Everyone knew that face, that smile, that energy. His mix of confidence, charm, and that signature movie star aura made him impossible to overlook. Tom's climb to fame kicked off in the early 1980s when he snagged roles in Endless Love, Taps, and The Outsiders. But it was risky business that turned him into a full-blown superstar, and Hollywood never looked the same again. And just when people thought he couldn't go any higher, Top Gun came along and launched him into the stratosphere. He wasn't just a leading man anymore. He became the heartthrob every magazine couldn't stop talking about. His spot on the A-list was officially sealed, and his influence only kept growing. By the 1990s, Tom Cruise had already proved he wasn't just a pretty face or a product of hype. He was the real deal. He stacked up powerhouse performances in A Few Good Men, Mission Impossible, Jerry Maguire, and the daringly provocative Eyes Wide Shut. Each role showed a different side of him, proving he had serious acting range and solidifying his throne as one of Hollywood's most unstoppable forces. While Tom was ruling the box office, Katie Holmes was busy grinding her way up the ladder. She captured hearts as Joey Potter in Dawson's Creek, the teen drama that turned her into America's girl next door and a household favorite overnight. Sure, some of her film projects like Disturbing Behavior and Go didn't hit blockbuster levels, but she was steadily making her mark, earning respect, and showing that she had real staying power. And here's where things get wild. Even Katie herself admitted the gap was massive. In a July 2004 interview with 17 magazine, she gushed about Tom, confessing that she'd actually dreamed of marrying him. Can you believe that? A teenage fantasy that would soon leap right off the magazine page into real life. But as we all know, the road that followed was anything but a fairy tale. Fast forward to March 2005, and Katie Holmes' world flipped upside down in an instant. She just called off her engagement to actor Chris Klein, and the breakup came out of nowhere. Fans were stunned, and tabloids went wild trying to figure out what happened. In another 17 magazine interview, Katie kept things classy but dropped a pretty telling hint. She said Chris wasn't really supportive of her career, and honestly, that one line said everything. But things took an even stranger turn when Katie was caught mid-interview stepping away to take a mysterious phone call. Cameras were rolling as she softly said, "I love you," into the phone, before brushing it off, claiming it was her mom. But come on. Insiders immediately whispered that wasn't the full story. That one tiny moment sent Hollywood gossip into overdrive and had everyone wondering who was really on the other end of that call. Then, just 1 month later, April 2005, the mystery exploded. Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise shocked the world when they made their first official public appearance together as a couple in Rome. Tom was there to accept a prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award. But let's be real, all eyes were glued to the new, unexpected pairing. The red carpet froze, the cameras flashed non-stop, and everyone was asking the same question: what is going on here? Speculation lit up overnight like wildfire. People couldn't believe how fast things were moving, and many started wondering if the whole romance was even real. Critics whispered it was a classic Hollywood PR stunt, especially since both had major movies about to drop. Tom gearing up for War of the Worlds, and Katie prepping for Batman Begins. The timing felt way too perfect, and fans were left suspicious, wondering if this was love or a headline in disguise. The tabloids completely lost their minds. Theories were flying left and right, and every headline screamed a different story. But then came the moment that no one could stop talking about, the one that somehow made the noise even louder. It all went down during Tom Cruise's now legendary appearance on The Oprah Winfrey Show. Instead of promoting his movie like usual, Tom ditched the script and made the whole segment about Katie Holmes. He couldn't stop praising her. He was overflowing with excitement, smiling from ear to ear, until suddenly he jumped onto Oprah's couch, literally shouting his love for Katie. That one wild moment became instant pop culture history. The clip spread everywhere within hours. TV, tabloids, late-night shows, everyone had something to say. People were shocked, amused, and a little confused, wondering if they were watching a grand romantic gesture or something way over the top.
Later on, comedian Seth Rogen said that Tom once told him producers had edited the footage to make him look more hyped up than he really was. But honestly, by then it didn't matter. The world had already seen it. The damage, or maybe the magic, was done. From that point on, Tom and Katie owned the spotlight. Their public affection became impossible to ignore. They were everywhere, holding hands, posing, kissing, and even redoing moments just so the cameras could catch every perfect shot. One unforgettable photo showed Tom dramatically dipping Katie like a scene straight out of an old-school romance flick. Pure Hollywood drama. And for Katie, this wasn't just another relationship, this was her childhood dream come to life. Katie had always been open about her admiration for Tom Cruise's exclusive Hollywood circle. Names like Steven Spielberg and Penelope Cruz had her starry-eyed long before she ever met Tom. She wasn't shy about it either. Katie made it clear she was ambitious and totally unapologetic about wanting to climb straight to the top of Hollywood. So when Tom dropped to one knee and proposed just 2 months into dating, she didn't hesitate for a second. And where did this movie-worthy moment happen? At the very top of the Eiffel Tower. Tom went full cinematic, a grand proposal under the Paris sky that turned into an instant global spectacle. Shortly after, he announced their engagement at a press conference in Paris, while Katie proudly showed off a massive diamond ring that sparkled brighter than the flashbulbs. Tom called the proposal magnificent, saying that Paris and the Eiffel Tower perfectly symbolized their love and destiny together. It was pure Hollywood fantasy come to life. Then, just 3 months later, October 2005, the couple dropped even bigger news. They were expecting their first child. Their spokesperson confirmed it, saying the two were completely over the moon about the baby on the way. And in April 2006, their daughter Suri was born. A moment Tom described as deeply spiritual. He said he couldn't stop replaying it in his mind, remembering every second of holding his baby girl for the first time. From the outside, Tom and Katie looked unstoppable. Fame, fortune, family, and a picture-perfect romance straight out of a movie. But behind those glowing smiles and red carpet poses, something darker was slowly building. One powerful presence loomed large over their fairy tale: Tom's deep and unwavering connection to Scientology. And that force, as many would soon discover, was about to test their love and push this Hollywood dream to its breaking point. After the whirlwind romance that brought Surrey into their lives, Tom Katie fully stepped into the global spotlight as Tom Cruise's bride, and the world couldn't take its eyes off her. She wasn't just marrying a movie star, she was tying herself to one of the most powerful and talked about figures in all of Hollywood. The pressure? Intense from day one. From the outside, their life looked like a real-life fairy tale: designer gowns, private jets, and picture-perfect smiles. But behind those glamorous photos, things were far more complicated than anyone realized. A deep Vanity Fair investigation later revealed that there were actually carefully planned steps leading up to Katie becoming Tom's wife. And at the very center of it all was his powerful connection to the Church of Scientology. That same connection had already caused waves before, especially after Tom's high-profile splits with Nicole Kidman and Penelope Cruz. Reports claimed that after those breakups, the church decided to help Tom find his next partner, someone who could fit into both his personal life and his public image. Allegedly, several famous actresses were quietly considered, including Sofia Vergara and Scarlett Johansson, but both supposedly backed out after growing uneasy about his deep ties to Scientology. The search dragged on, and by late 2004, things still hadn't worked out. That's when the church reportedly introduced Tom to Nazanin Boniati, a dedicated Scientologist and rising actress. But that relationship didn't last long, and when it fell apart, insiders said she quickly fell out of favor within the group. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Katie Holmes entered the picture. After she publicly gushed about Tom in that 17 magazine interview, everything suddenly shifted, and the wheels for one of Hollywood's most talked-about relationships were officially set in motion. The real connection between Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise sparked just 7 months later, and from Katie's own words, it felt like fate. In an interview with the New York Times Style magazine, she shared that falling for Tom felt natural, explaining how she had admired him for years. To her, the romance seemed almost destined, like something written in the stars. But despite how effortless it all sounded, nothing about this relationship was casual, not even close. According to multiple reports, the Church of Scientology kept a close eye on everything, assigning a so-called chaperone named Jessica Rodriguez to stay by Katie's side nearly 24/7. Jessica was there for everything, especially during the couple's European press tour while they were promoting their big summer films. Her presence became impossible to ignore. She often stepped in during interviews, speaking on Katie's behalf and steering questions away from anything that hinted at controversy. Whenever journalists dared to bring up public skepticism about the relationship or questions about Scientology, Jessica shut it down instantly. No hesitation, no room for debate. Some reporters even started assuming she was Katie's manager because of how involved she was. But the confusion only deepened when Jessica claimed she was actually Katie's best friend, even though they'd only known each other for 6 weeks. That timeline matched perfectly with when Katie first met Tom, and people couldn't help but raise eyebrows. It didn't stop there. Jessica wasn't just anyone. She came from a wealthy Bay Area Scientology family and was reportedly part of the elite Sea Org, the church's most devoted inner circle. Everything about her presence suggested this relationship wasn't just a love story. It was being watched, managed, and possibly controlled from the very start. Speculation about Jessica Rodriguez's true role around Katie Holmes only grew stronger, especially after Katie made a sudden headline-making announcement. Not long after publicly stating she wasn't a Scientologist, she shocked everyone by revealing in an interview that she had actually converted. The news hit Hollywood like a thunderclap, sparking mixed reactions from fans and critics alike. And of course, Jessica was right there by her side, cheering her on through the transformation.
Invited, because he was in Endless Love. Tom was the guy in Endless Love who convinces Martin Hewer to set the house on fire and then be the hero. So I've known him for decades.
Katie told reporters she found Scientology exciting. explaining that she was receiving spiritual counseling and had already started taking courses. She even shared that she felt totally comfortable identifying as both Catholic and Scientologist, saying the two beliefs could coexist in her life. When interviewers asked whether she ever felt pressured to join, Katie instantly jumped to Tom's defense, describing him as loving, generous, and kind, and insisting he would never force her into anything. She even called being with him a privilege, which made the romance sound like a dream come true. Then came the grand finale, the wedding of the year. On November 18, 2006, Tom and Katie tied the knot in a lavish ceremony in Italy inside a breathtaking medieval castle. The event was straight out of a fantasy film. Dramatic fireworks bursting over the night sky, celebrity guests everywhere, and the kind of glamour that only Hollywood could create. Inside the Otiscauchi castle, designer Giorgio Armani described the moment Katie walked down the aisle in her elegant, off-the-shoulder gown as nothing short of beautiful. It was a wedding for the ages, a true fairy tale scene, even as quiet whispers continued to swirl behind the sparkle, hinting that not everything about this union was as magical as it seemed. The guest list alone proved just how massive and star-studded this wedding really was. The castle was packed with A-listers: Jennifer Lopez, Mark Anthony, Brooke Shields, Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, Jim Carrey, and Jenny McCarthy, just to name a few. Cameras flashed non-stop as Hollywood royalty filled the ancient halls, ready to witness one of the most talked-about unions of the decade. The ceremony itself was a blend of classic romance and intense ritual, a 20-minute Scientology segment intertwined with traditional vows about love, honor, and even resolving disagreements before going to sleep. At the center of it all stood Tom's best man, David Miscavige, the head of the Church of Scientology, surrounded by other church leaders. Tom's children, Isabella and Connor, were right there by his side, along with his sister Nancy, as the couple sealed their vows in front of the world's cameras. The celebration rolled on inside the castle's breathtaking Grand Hall of the Caesars, where emotions ran high and the atmosphere felt almost surreal. Guests cheered, tears flowed, and heartfelt toasts echoed through the grand room. Katie shared a touching father-daughter dance to Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World," a moment that melted hearts everywhere. Then came the couple's romantic first dance to Fleetwood Mac's "Songbird," marking what looked like the start of their perfect new chapter together. But as the music faded and the fireworks died down, not everything was as flawless as it seemed. Behind the fairy tale glow and the flashing cameras, quiet cracks had already begun to form. Rumors slowly started to swirl, whispers that this picture-perfect union might not be as blissful behind closed doors. As time passed, reports of tension began to leak out, catching fans completely off guard and hinting that the dream wedding might soon meet a very different reality. When Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes finally split, the world was stunned. It felt like the breakup came out of nowhere. But looking back now, the warning signs were hiding in plain sight all along. Things between them hadn't been as smooth as their smiles suggested. By 2010, something had clearly shifted. Rumors about distance, tension, and cracks in their perfect image started spreading, even as Katie kept up the act of a blissful wife in public. In an interview with Marie Claire, she described her life as incredible and said she felt lucky to be Tom's wife. But behind those polished words, something wasn't adding up. There was a quiet unease, a reality no one could fully see yet. Just 2 years later, the marriage would officially collapse, leaving fans shocked and asking, was Katie already planning her exit while pretending everything was fine? Had she started building her escape long before the world noticed? And when you look closer at the timeline, a few moments start to stand out, including one that raised eyebrows months before their daughter Suri was even born. During a Barbara Walters special, Tom made a surprising revelation. He had purchased a personal sonogram machine for their home. He said he planned to donate it to a hospital later, but that detail didn't calm anyone's concerns.
Medical professionals quickly spoke up, warning that non-medical use of such equipment wasn't considered safe or standard practice. The comment instantly stirred debate and hinted at just how different life inside the Cruise-Holmes household really was, a world where even love and science seemed to play by Tom's own rules. The FDA even had to step in, issuing formal warnings and making it clear that private ownership and use of sonogram machines violated regulations. The move added yet another layer of controversy to Tom Cruise's already unconventional take on family life. It was one of those moments that made people realize things in Tom's world didn't quite follow the usual Hollywood script. But the questions didn't stop there. Years later, actress Leah Remini, a former Scientologist, dropped a shocking story in her memoir that pulled the curtain back even further. She described walking into a bathroom during Tom and Katie's wedding and stumbling upon a tense scene. Several women, including Tom's sister and an assistant, standing around baby Suri. Leah said the tone in the room felt strangely harsh and inappropriate for a child, leaving her deeply disturbed. That unsettling moment stuck with her for years and only fueled more curiosity about what life was really like behind those closed doors. When you piece everything together, a clear pattern starts to emerge, one that stretches across Tom Cruise's marriages. There always seemed to be a sense of control, strict boundaries, and a swirl of controversy following close behind. Every relationship had the same rhythm: passion, perfection, and then sudden cracks that no one saw coming. Even gossip columnist Perez Hilton jumped into the conversation, pointing out how these repeating patterns couldn't just be coincidence. Fans began asking hard questions. Was this just bad luck in love, or was there something deeper, something hidden that kept history repeating itself around Tom Cruise's romantic life? According to Perez Hilton's observation, there was something eerie about the timing of Tom Cruise's breakups. Every one of his marriages seemed to end when his wives turned 33. Some even connected that number to Scientology's history, pointing out that the Hubbard Association of Scientologists was founded in Phoenix, Arizona, a city located right on the 33rd parallel. So when Katie Holmes started approaching her 33rd birthday in 2012, whispers spread fast. Many believed another Cruise divorce was quietly on the way.
But what no one knew was that Katie wasn't sitting still. Behind the scenes, she was strategically preparing her escape. As the pressure around her grew, she reportedly hired 3 different law firms across separate states to keep her plans hidden and airtight. To stay completely off the radar, she even used a burner phone given to her by a close friend, so she could communicate privately with her lawyers without raising suspicion. Every move she made was calculated, quiet, and protected. And then came one of the most shocking twists: the prenup. Insiders revealed that it had been drafted by Katie's father, who happens to be a lawyer himself. Reports describe the document as incredibly detailed and airtight. Though the exact terms have never been made public, Vanity Fair claimed the agreement was so extensive that it filled 5 entire banker's boxes. That detail alone said everything. This wasn't some impulsive Hollywood split. It was a carefully executed plan, years in the making, showing just how determined Katie was to take back control of her life on her own terms. When it came to the money, reports couldn't seem to agree on what really went down. The Mirror claimed that Katie Holmes walked away with just over $50 million for herself in Surrey, while TMZ told a totally different story, saying there was no massive payout at all. Instead, their sources said court documents showed that Katie would receive $400,000 per year in child support, along with Tom covering everything else: Suri's medical bills, education, insurance, college fund, and even her extracurricular activities. Whatever the real number was, one thing was clear: Katie and her daughter were completely secure. But what really shocked Hollywood was how fast the divorce was finalized. The entire legal process wrapped up in just 11 days, lightning speed for a split this high profile. Most celebrity divorces drag on for months or even years, but this one was over almost before the tabloids could catch up. Some insiders speculated that Katie's father, who had crafted the airtight prenup, might have seen this coming from the start.
They believed he designed the deal to protect his daughter and granddaughter completely, while giving Tom Cruise an easy, drama-free exit when things eventually fell apart. Whether that theory was true or not, the result was clear. The divorce went down quietly and cleanly by Hollywood standards. There were no messy courtroom battles, no dragged-out custody fights, and definitely no public mudslinging in the press. Katie later issued a calm, composed statement calling the divorce a private matter and stressing that her only focus was Suri's well-being. Tom's camp also responded with grace, expressing sadness over the split but emphasizing that Tom remained deeply committed to his children. His representative requested privacy for both families and made it clear that Tom intended to stay a present, supportive father to Suri as she grew up, even under the constant spotlight of fame. After all the chaos, control, and controversy, the world took a deep breath as the dust finally settled. The once unbreakable Hollywood couple had officially gone their separate ways. But while fans expected Katie to be heartbroken, the girl who once dreamed of marrying Tom Cruise, now living out a very different reality, she surprised everyone. Katie stayed incredibly private, guarding her emotions and keeping her head high. There were no tearful interviews, no revenge stories, just quiet strength. And while many assumed she'd stay single for years, life had other plans, because soon enough, love found her again, right back where it all began, in the heart of Hollywood. Years later, life took a surprising twist for Katie Holmes when whispers started swirling about her secret relationship with Jamie Foxx. For years, the two kept things completely under wraps, but eventually they subtly confirmed what fans had long suspected. According to reports, they had been quietly dating for nearly 4 years before deciding to go public, and the timing of that reveal? It was right after the 5th anniversary of Katie's split from Tom Cruise, a detail that definitely raised eyebrows. It didn't take long for the truth behind that strange timing to come out. TMZ later reported that Tom had allegedly enforced a strict clause in their divorce agreement, one that banned Katie from publicly discussing their marriage or openly dating anyone for 5 years after the split. A source told Radar Online back in 2016 that while Katie technically could date, she wasn't allowed to do it in public, and absolutely no new partners were permitted around Suri during that period. It was like one final layer of control hanging over her post-divorce life. In exchange for following that rumored clause, Katie reportedly received around £3.6 million in child support and another £3.8 million for herself. From the outside, it definitely looked like she stuck to the deal, keeping things calm, clean, and completely off the radar after her marriage ended. And when it came to her new romance with Jamie Foxx, Katie was the definition of low-key. The two first connected at a charity gala in New York in August 2013, and from that point on, they were inseparable, just not in front of the cameras. What makes the whole thing even crazier is that Katie and Jamie had actually met years earlier, through none other than Tom Cruise himself. Their first introduction reportedly happened 7 years before they started dating, at a football game where Tom introduced them as friends. At the time, Jamie and Tom were close, having bonded while filming Collateral, which made the later romance feel almost too ironic. Insiders said Katie took secrecy to another level, wearing wigs, hats, and disguises during private meetups with Jamie in quiet New York hotels. Jamie totally respected her need for privacy and never once fueled the gossip. Whenever reporters asked about them, he'd just laugh it off and say they were just good friends. But behind closed doors, their connection was real. A quiet, steady love story that grew far away from the cameras and the chaos that once ruled Katie's life. Even as whispers kept growing louder, Katie Holmes and Jamie Foxx tried to keep their secret romance hidden. But by 2015, things nearly slipped. Katie was spotted attending Jamie's surprise birthday party at Les Bilboquet in New York, and insiders said she was clearly smitten. Photos later surfaced showing them holding hands at a recording studio, sending fans and tabloids into a frenzy. But even with the evidence right there, Jamie stuck to his story, repeating over and over that they were just good friends. Meanwhile, Katie's connection with Tom Cruise had completely faded. Since their divorce, the two have rarely spoken about each other publicly, and insiders say their direct communication is basically non-existent. They moved on to totally separate worlds. Tom continuing his film empire and dedication to Scientology, and Katie focusing on independence and raising Suri out of the Hollywood spotlight.
In a deeply reflective InStyle interview, around the time she turned 41, Katie opened up about what she had learned since those turbulent years. She said that most people don't truly understand themselves until later in life, and for her, that moment had finally come. She explained that her experiences taught her how important it was to trust her own instincts and honor her feelings instead of constantly putting everyone else first. Fans quickly read between the lines. It felt like a quiet nod to her past marriage and the control she had once lived under. In the same interview, Katie talked about relocating to New York City after the divorce, describing it as both exciting and overwhelming. The attention was relentless, the paparazzi were everywhere, and she suddenly found herself navigating single motherhood in full view of the public. She shared how what really helped her through that time wasn't fame, money, or connections. It was the kindness of strangers. One moment in particular stayed with her for years. Katie recalled when Suri was around 6 or 7 years old. That night, Katie had gone to see a ballet at Lincoln Center, while Suri stayed overnight at a friend's house. Around 10 p.m., Suri called and asked her mom to pick her up. Without hesitation, Katie left the theater, rushed to get her daughter, and brought her home. On the ride back, Suri fell asleep in the cab, and when they arrived, the driver quietly helped carry her inside so she wouldn't wake up. It was a small, human act of kindness, but to Katie, it meant everything. Through all of this, Tom Cruise remained noticeably absent from Katie's personal story. Since their split, the once high-profile power couple hasn't been photographed together in more than a decade, and rumors about Tom's distance from Suri's life have never really gone away. According to recent reports, sources told the Daily Mail that Tom has missed major milestones, including Suri's high school graduation and even parts of her college application process, a dramatic contrast to the days when he was constantly seen in public with his young family. Since the sudden divorce in 2012, insiders have claimed that Tom has had little to no involvement in Suri's day-to-day life, and that reality continues to spark endless speculation. Back in 2013, Tom even pushed back hard against those claims by filing a defamation lawsuit against Bauer Media after the outlet suggested he had abandoned his daughter. During the legal proceedings, when Tom was asked point-blank if Katie Holmes had left him to protect Suri from Scientology, he sidestepped the question, brushing it off as an assumption and carefully avoiding any clear yes or no answer. That careful silence only made people talk more. Even today, the world still wonders what really happened between Tom, Katie, and the life they built and lost under the brightest lights in Hollywood. Still, despite all the mystery and silence, Tom Cruise eventually confirmed one major detail that sent shockwaves through the public. During his legal battle, Tom openly admitted that both Katie Holmes and Suri were no longer practicing Scientologists. But even with that revelation, he stood firm, insisting there was never any need to protect Suri from his faith. That one comment, though, only made the public more suspicious and reignited every rumor about a growing emotional distance between Tom and his daughter. Critics were quick to point out that Scientology holds strict policies about anyone who leaves the church. Those people are often labeled as suppressive persons, and loyal members are strongly encouraged to cut contact with them completely. Many believed that this hardline rule might have played a huge role in what came next for Tom and his family. According to insiders, Katie's decision to walk away, both from the marriage and the religion, created a deep and lasting rift. After the split, Tom's relationship with Suri reportedly became more distant with time, not closer. Sources claimed that even during important life moments, birthdays, school events, or planning for college, Tom's presence was often missing. Despite that emotional distance, their divorce agreement still bound Tom to significant financial responsibilities. Even if he wasn't present in Suri's everyday life, documents required him to pay $400,000 per year in child support until she turned 18 and to cover all of her essential costs, including medical care, dental work, insurance, education, college tuition, and extracurricular activities. Once Suri officially turned 18, those child support payments legally ended, but the agreement clearly stated that Tom must continue covering all remaining expenses tied to her education and well-being. A source close to the family told the Daily Mail that Tom has always fulfilled his financial obligations towards Katie and Suri, never missing a payment, never failing to provide what was required. Still, that same source added a bittersweet note, claiming that Tom has chosen to not take an active role in his daughter's daily life. That decision, intentional or not, continues to spark intense debate among fans and former insiders alike. Through all of it, one thing has remained constant: Katie Holmes' devotion as a mother. She's been a steady, grounded force in Suri's world since day one, raising her with love, structure, and care while keeping her out of Hollywood chaos. She's been hands-on every step of the way, a quiet but undeniable example of strength, independence, and fierce maternal love that never wavered even under the blinding glare of fame. Insiders say Katie Holmes has been fully hands-on when it comes to Suri's next chapter, guiding her through college applications, encouraging her to explore schools across the country, and supporting every dream she dares to chase. But even with so many choices ahead, sources say Suri's heart is still in New York City, the place she's called home her whole life. She's reportedly drawn to fashion, a field where she can express herself creatively while staying close to her mom. And through it all, that unbreakable bond between them has only grown stronger, the kind of connection that fame and time could never shake.
As Suri steps into adulthood, Katie's emotions are said to be mixed. She's proud and beaming, but also quietly sentimental. Watching her daughter grow up, become independent, and carve her own path has been both beautiful and bittersweet. The once inseparable duo is evolving, and Katie seems to be embracing every moment with gratitude and love. But the big question still lingers. Was Scientology the invisible force that slowly pulled this Hollywood marriage apart? Or was it a love story that was always destined to crumble under the weight of fame and pressure? The debate is far from over, and you already know we'll be keeping an eye on every new twist that surfaces. If you've got thoughts, theories, or your own take on this unbelievable story, drop them in the comments. Tap that like button if you felt the emotion in this one, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss another deep dive here on Velvet Screen Secrets. Don't just watch the drama, be part of it.